Hey, it's Jared here from Specifically Solo. Essen is almost here, the biggest board gaming convention in the world. There are so many new games coming out at Essen. I wanted to share with you my top 10 most anticipated for 2025. A few caveats for this list. All of these games you can play solo. Also, I'm just focusing on games that will be for sale at Essen. And I'm not going to mention anything that got released at Gen Con just a few months ago. So really focusing on the newest of the new here. I think I've got a good variety of games on this list, so let's go ahead and jump in with number 10. So number 10 on this list is aptly named Tenby, which is a town in Wales. This is a really small box game, little card game here, and I'm kind of getting like Tiny Towns vibes or Sprawlopolis vibes in this one for Tenby. So the aim of the game is to create the best town you can with the cards that you have. You're going to add terraces, piers, and landmarks into your streets in your town, and then you're trying to score the most points possible. It also feels like it'll be a really fun solo game. It feels a little probably like it's just going to be beat your own score for the solo mode of the game, but I honestly think that is fine. It's a pretty lightweight game. It's not going to take you that long to play, and the thing that stood out to me with this one too was really the art style. I enjoyed the way the box looked, the cards looked, and it felt like it would be a fun, kind of just quick little city building game. So that's number 10 on the list, 10B. So number 9 on the list, we're moving up a little bit in box size, is Parks and Potions. In this game, you are going to be rolling dice to get potions to help animals out in your park. So you're going to try to heal animals, perform experiments, which are going to earn you points. Takes about 5 or 6 rounds to play. It's divided into different phases. So you're going to roll the dice to extract from flowers and things like that, manage your inventory, and then use your potions to fulfill the objectives and cure your animals. The most points, whoever has the most points at the end of the game wins the game. And the solo mode, it seems like they've got a really in-depth solo mode going on here in terms of different challenges and objectives that you are trying to meet. And I really enjoy that in a solo game. You know, things like Cascadia or Calico or Knitting Circle, which you see behind me here on the shelf, all have a list of challenges that you can do when you are playing solo or multiplayer, but really add some variety to the game, a lot of replayability to the game. And it seemed like the same thing is going on here in Parks and Potions. I also really enjoyed the theme of this one. I thought the artwork looked very good, and also another pretty simple game, but one that seems like it has a lot of replayability and is also a pretty quick game as well. I think the dice rolling aspect adds maybe some randomness into it, but I'd be interested to check that out and see if there are ways that you can combat that. But really the theme here and the quick playing nature of this and the fact that there are some challenges and objectives for the solo game is what drew me in here. So number 9, Parks and Potions. So number 8 on the list is a solo only game. I hope I'm saying this one right. I think it's Adamastor or Adamastor, not exactly sure, but this is a game where you are going to have multi-use cards, and this is a hand management and tableau management game. It also has an optional campaign-based story mode that you can play as well, and the game is really quick, only takes about 30 minutes, but in this game, what you are doing is you are having events that are going to trigger based on different combinations of your icons that you have on your cards. You've got challenges, you've got rewards that come into play, trauma cards kind of accumulate, which increases your despair and also increases the difficulty as well. And you get to explore in this game as well. You're kind of exploring with your crew and using the knowledge of your crew to complete the game in the best way possible. So it seemed really interesting. I really enjoyed the nautical theme on this one. Obviously, the fact that it is a solo only game, those are always going to stand out to me being a solo review YouTube channel in terms of this is designed for one player and one player only. So that's definitely something that intrigues me as well. I think the fact that this is pretty quick, taking about 30 minutes, but it does have that optional campaign mode is pretty cool because you don't really see that in games with that length for gameplay. A lot of times if a game has a campaign mode, it's going to be something that takes like an hour and a half maybe to play. In fact, a game that I think of that has kind of a short campaign mode that's also solo solo only, is Legacy of You. That game you can play in like 30 to 45 minutes with the campaign, and I think they're kind of going for the same thing here in terms of a quick playing campaign game that does provide some replayability and also gives you a little story as you go along. So I'm interested to check this one out. That's Adamastor in at number 8. Number 7 is Abroad. In Abroad, what you are doing is you are trying to travel the world. You get to be a travel guide publisher, and you need to go out and research around the world to make your travel guide. In this game, you are going to Europe, and you're going to visit some locations, meet with the locals, get insider tips, collect postcards from attractions, maybe even go to a festival or go on some other adventures throughout the course of the game. And this seems like a really cool idea here. I'm getting big Let's Go to Japan vibes from this game, but I really enjoy Let's Go to Japan, and I think there's something similar kind of going on here with the theme and with what you are doing. So you've got a lot of cards that are going to be in the game, and the game lasts 4 rounds and consists of 7 days. And what you're going to do is you're going to do different activities. You can write about the location that you're at, you can rest, you can plan, or you can like carry out an activity basically throughout the course of the game. And then after 4 rounds, you're just going to see what score you have. Now, the interesting thing here in the solo mode, they actually had a little blurb about this in the description on BGG. For the solo mode, you're going to compete against a bot that always has 3 location cards in a row that determine where it's going to go next, but you can spend money or energy to discard its location cards and send it elsewhere. So you're kind of fighting against it throughout the course of the game. You know, if you both want to go to the same location or talk to the same person or whatever the case may be, you're able to manipulate the solo mode in a way. I thought that was interesting. I don't see that a lot in solo games. Normally when you play an automa or a solo mode, if you're doing it and it's card based, you're just going to draw the card and then kind of do whatever it says on the card, whether that, you know, is blocking a spot, taking resources, gaining points, whatever the case is. But in this, it seems like you can actively kind of play with the solo mode a little bit and influence it and guide it in a different direction. So that's one thing that really stood out to me in this one. I also really liked the idea of this game in terms of writing a travel guide for Europe. I think that's very cool. This is obviously a game that if it does well, they could expand to other continents and areas around the world. So one I definitely want to check out. That's number 7. It's called Abroad. Number 6 on this list is another nature-themed game. There are a lot of those over the last couple of years. This is Rewild South America. So this is a medium-weight game, card game, where you are building an engine and takes about an hour, they say. So the goal of this basically is there's different eco-regions and there's different inhabitants in those eco-regions. And you just are going to do one of 2 things on your turn. It's very, very simple. Basically, you're going to choose one of 2 different actions, and then after you do that action, you can attract animals or plants into your ecosystem. And as soon as you have 8 or 9 face-up cards in front of you, the game is over. But there's lots of things that you're going to have to worry about throughout the course of the game. How do you generate resources? How do you get your action cards back into your hand to have more options to take on your turn? What animal and plant cards do you want to collect to kind of make sure that they can get as many victory points as possible and possibly combo off of each other as well? So a lot of cool things going on in this game. Also, the artwork in this game is absolutely stunning. It's some of the best artwork I think I've seen in quite a while. There are multiple artists that worked on this game, and you can tell it just pops when you look at the pictures on Board Game Geek, and I cannot wait to see it in person to see how it might pop. But it seems like it's going to have great table presence. I also love an engine building game. That's one of my favorite mechanisms, if you will. You know, you make your engine stronger throughout the game. You're getting more and more stuff as the game goes on. That's always a lot of fun to me. I'm enjoying the theme here as well. And I think there's a lot of variety and variability in this game with just how many cards are included and what you're kind of going to be going for each game. It seems like your strategy could really change game to game based on what cards are kind of out there and what you're working on collecting and what actions you're taking. So definitely one I want to check out. That's Rewild, and this one is Rewild South America, but I can see if this does well, they definitely make more for more areas of the world. That's number 6. Number 5 on the list is a game from Sashi and Sashi. I just recently got Come Sail Away, and I'm loving it. This is their new game, The Great Evening Banquet. So in this game, you're kind of doing what you're doing in a lot of Sashi and Sashi games. This one, you are seating guests at a state house with tables that also have VIPs at them. But certain guests don't want to sit next to certain VIPs. So you got to manage that, create harmonious tables, kind of make the best layout that you can for these guests. So you've got 6 VIP tables, each of which seats 4 guests. Guests are in 5 different colors, 4 different types. And then at the start of the round, you're going to fill the different carriages up on the table. Each player chooses a carriage, places all of the guests at one or more tables. And when a table is full, it's going to score based on its type, color, and raised glasses. So lots of things to think about in this game. Look, I really enjoy Come Sail Away. I think that's a great Mancala style game that plays very quickly, but also is very thinky and has a lot of replayability to it. It seems like the Great Evening Banquet, the same thing is happening here as well. Also, the solo mode is going to be, they've got the solo rules included in this one. The solo mode for Come Sail Away is very, very simple. It's very easy to make those modifications and basically play the same game. I feel like the same thing is probably happening here in the Great Evening Banquet. And I love games like this where you're just like arranging things, trying to get people in the best place possible. You've got to think about, do I want to sit them over there? Do I sit them at this table? But what's going to get me more points? That's basically the thought process that you're doing throughout the course of the game. And that's really something that is very intriguing to me and something that I really enjoy. Also, seems like it's going to be pretty quick playing game as well. Seems like there's some more decisions in this one than Come Sail Away in terms of exactly where you are going to place your guests at those tables. But this is one that I definitely want to check out. That's number 5, The Great Evening Banquet from Sashi and Sashi. Number 4 on this list is another game with kind of a nature theme, but a little bit of a different sort of thing going on in this one. This is Forestry. So this is a worker placement game, and you are a forest steward in this game, and you're trying to sustain the forest and manage it in the best way possible. So you've got to harvest resources and fulfill contracts, but also take into consideration environmental concerns as well. And so every action that you take has an impact on the forest's health. And there's a cool thing going on in this game where it is a dual worker system. You have a harvester and a manager, and they each have different things that they can do and have different responsibilities. So the harvester is going through the forest, basically felling trees to meet the contracts, replanting the saplings, constructing infrastructure, and so on. And the manager is doing resource collection, where it's utilizing the sawmill buildings, fulfilling contracts, optimizing wood processing. And so you've got to choose between those and allocate your action points between those two to make the best choice possible. That's the thing that intrigues me the most about this game, is the 2 different workers that you have and trying to manage those in the best way possible. It seems like it's going to be very much a push and pull here, where it's like, oh, I really want to go all in and do a lot of actions with my harvester, but I also need to do my manager actions as well, because I need to try and score points that way too. So for Forestry 2, it seems like they have put a lot of thought and effort into the solo game in this one. You're competing against an opponent called the Forester, and so what you are going to be doing is working against the Forester in the solo game. And looking at the rules, it looks like the Forester has some action cards that are going to determine what actions it takes in a particular round. You've probably seen this in a game before with an Automa, where it's like you go down the list in terms of if it can take the first one, it does that. If it can't, it goes to the second one, and so on. It seems like that's kind of what's going on here. I didn't look at the solo rules in depth, but I just kind of glanced at them, got a little bit of an overview of it, and it does seem like a really nice, in-depth, and dedicated solo mode that they've put a lot of thought and effort into. So that's one thing that intrigues me about this game as well. It looks like it has a great table presence. They actually had this one at Capcom, which is Capstone Games Convention, that I got to go to a few weeks ago, but I didn't get a chance to play it there. It just didn't work out timing wise. But this is one that I definitely want to check out, and I think would be really fun for solo play. Also, the circular board is pretty cool too. That is Forestry. That's number 4. Number 3 on this list is the Voynich puzzle. So this game was set up at Gen Con at the Salt and Pepper booth. And when people walked by, they just stopped and had to look at it because it had such an impressive table presence and just pops. And I was one of those people, and I was very intrigued by it. And now it is coming out at Essen. So the Voynich puzzle is about the Voynich manuscript, which is named after a guy who discovered it in 1912. And they don't really know what it is, basically. It's like, what is this manuscript? And so what you are doing is you are trying to decipher the manuscript and piece it together. So what you are working on in this game is a lot of different actions. And if you see a picture of the board, you can see it's kind of split out into different areas that you can go to on your turn. So you're going to select a page on your book on your turn. You're going to perform an action, and there's 5 main sections on the manuscript on the board: but botany, astrology, baths, writing, and recipes. And once you gain enough knowledge in that area, you'll share that knowledge, adding a piece of the puzzle that the manuscript represents. And so the game ends when you get to the 50-second space on the marker in-game icon, and then that's basically the end of the game. So there's some area control going on in this game as well. Now, from a solo perspective, sometimes that doesn't work super well in terms of area control with a solo-only game. Sometimes I find that when I play area control games solo, the solo mode doesn't really go where it should based on what I'm doing, but I am intrigued by this one because there's 5 different areas on the board, and also it seems like the actions that you're taking in this game are very, very interesting, and you can't really focus specifically on one certain area. You're going to have to try and highlight a bunch of different areas on this board to try and have majority in a lot of different places so that you get points for those areas that you're working in. Also, the theme of this one just seems really cool, like deciphering a manuscript and working on that. It's very bright, it's very colorful on the table, and I think that is very intriguing as well. So this is definitely one that I would like to check out and just get to play more and experience a little bit. I haven't played it yet, I should say, but just get to kind of spend some more time with. Again, I got to look at it at Gen Con and get kind of a quick overview of it, and that is something that put it on my radar and intrigued me, and now it is coming out. That's the Voynich puzzle at number 3. So number 2 on this list is a game that is a reimplementation of a game that's very popular in the solo community, and that is Deckers. So this is a reimplementation of Renegade, and I have never played Renegade, but lots and lots of people talk about how they love Renegade, especially as a solo game, and it's designed by Richard Wilkins, who you also may know as Ricky Royal, who has a YouTube channel, very popular one where he's reviewing and talking about games as well. And so in Deckers, you are going to hack into a network of 5 different servers, and it's a cooperative game, so if you play with more than one person, you're all going to be working together at this. And there's a lot of these super massive computers in the game, each with a different level of complexity and its own unique style that you kind of have to overcome and hack. And then you also have these certain profiles that you're going to get once you're into the server, and they each have a special ability, and you've got a new objective you're trying to achieve every round. This seems like just a really, really cool puzzle game, and I love those where it's like, set this up, it's going to be different every single time with the puzzle that you are trying to solve and trying to work on. Seems like this will be a lot of fun solo because you'll get to be making all of those decisions and trying to work the puzzle the best way possible. It's giving me a little bit of like Turing Machine vibes as well, which came out a couple of years ago. Obviously some different stuff going on in this one, but from like a puzzly solo aspect where the puzzle changes every time, it's kind of what's happening here in Deckers. So I definitely want to check this one out. I think it will work great as a puzzle game, as a solo game. Renegade, as I said, is already very highly regarded as a solo game in the solo community, even though you can play it multiplayer. A lot of people love playing it solo. I think the same thing is going to happen here with Deckers. So this is definitely one to keep on your radar. That's Deckers in at number 2. So my number 1 most anticipated game coming out at Essen in 2025 is Pulitzer. This one just really intrigues me from the theme and from what you are doing in the game. So you are a team of American investigative journalists during the early stages of the 70s. There's like the Vietnam War going on, the Pentagon Papers, Watergate is happening as well. You're trying to work to maintain the prestige and sales of the newspaper while also researching big stories, and you're trying to get the one that will win you the Pulitzer and etch your name in the history of journalism forever. So that's why it's called Pulitzer. There's a couple different things going on in this game. You've got the placement phase and the resolution phase. You've got on the placement phase, kind of hidden bidding going on where you're placing your journalists in different areas of the board, and there's also obviously worker placement as well. And then resolution, you're checking the values of the journalists, and you are taking out the actions that are out there on the board. And so in the solo mode, there's a couple of different changes to the game, but the solo mode still sounds like it is really well designed and well thought out. So in the solo mode, you are playing as the Post, and you're facing the government and also the Times, with the exception that the actions of the Times will be indicated by a card every turn. You'll place the Times journalist first before you play your journalist. This simulates the reality of that time, that the Times was always one step ahead of the Post up to that point. So you're playing as the Washington Post, basically, and you're going against the New York Times. That's intriguing for a solo mode, and I also like how you're kind of like the underdog in the solo mode. Like, you've got to overcome some adversity and some obstacles, very much like they did in, for the Watergate scandal, the Washington Post did. If you've seen All the President's Men, or if you've read that book, they were kind of at a disadvantage journalistically from just like a resource standpoint, and being kind of like lower quality newspaper, and that really like elevated them into, high level status when they were able to cover that case involving Richard Nixon. So there's some history going on in this game. I went to school for communications. I had to take some journalism classes, so this game just intrigues me from that theme perspective. I feel like there's not a lot of games out there involving this theme. Also, the board and using that little red piece of pipe or whatever it's going to be, string in the game, just seemed like a cool kind of gimmicky thing that they've put in here, but also serves a gameplay purpose too. Looks like it's really just kind of a standout game on the table. So for all of those reasons, this is why I want to check this one out. That is Pulitzer in at number 1. So there you go, my top 10 list of most anticipated games for Essen 2025. We had Tenby, Parks and Potions, Adamastor, Abroad, Rewild South America in there, The Great Evening Banquet, Forestry, The Voynich Puzzle, Deckers, and Pulitzer. Those were the top 10. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to like and subscribe. That definitely helps the channel out. I've got other videos on my page as well. In fact, I did a video for Essen 2024, so you could go back and watch that video, see what was popular and what didn't really take off at all, if you want a little bit of a history there for Essen last year. But Essen coming up in just a few weeks. It's going to be a huge convention. Tons and tons of games are going to be available. If you're going, have a fantastic time. I will not be at Essen this year. In fact, I've never gone to Essen. It's something that's on my wish list to get to someday, but it's a little far away from me here in the middle of the United States. But it seems like a very, very cool convention and tons of games to check out. So until next time, I'm Jared. You've been watching Specifically Solo.